Alright guys, enough of the silly stuff. Let's open this baby up and see what we got. This is the 7875. It's a 78mm turbo from VS Racing. Now I actually purchased this particular one from Hunter Tuned. If you've not heard of Hunter Tuned, it's a YouTube channel. He also builds Hondas. You know, he's got some LS project cars he does. He's real big in the turbos, and he just recently became a dealer for VS Racing. So I've actually been talking to him since, well, for about 1.5 years now. So I decided to get my turbo through him. You know, he gave me a real good deal on it and everything. So I wanted to give him a shout out. I'll also be placing a link to the Hunter Tuned website in the description for this video. So check that out. He sells decapped injectors. He decaps them, flows them, and sells them on his website. So anyway, just check it out, guys. I mean, he's updating, getting more and more stuff on his website that he's selling every day. He's a great guy to deal with. He's also got a YouTube channel, as I already mentioned, Hunter Tuned on YouTube. So check his channel out, check his website out. Let's get this thing open. I want to go ahead and say, guys, while I'm doing this, I know jack diddly about turbos. If you guys watch my channel, then you know, said it 100 times, I was actually a nitrous guy my whole life until recently when we built the Turbo C10. If you haven't seen the Turbo C10, we call it Project Steppenwolf. You should go back and check that playlist out. Actually, this might actually be in that playlist. We did a budget build on our 74 step side LS Swap C10, and every part of that build is in that Turbo C10 playlist. So check that playlist out. You can see how we did it. We did it really cheap. Unfortunately, we used a very old 12-year-old used turbo that also was undersized for our engine, which is why we had to order this, because we actually just burnt that up. And right off the bat, I am really happy, guys. I was actually gonna order a new drain kit, and I'm so glad I didn't, because apparently this turbo comes with a drain kit. Not only any drain kit. If you guys watch Sloppy Mechanics, he's actually made comments about this turbo before, how he had trouble with the drain, getting the drain line on. And apparently, like, this may take care of the problem, because this is actually angled. So it's going to angle the drain away from the compressor house. This is awesome, guys. I had no idea this was going to come with this. We also got our gaskets. We got a new flange gasket, and a gasket for our drain, and a gasket for the feed. That's awesome. Was not expecting this at all. Did not know it came with that. That is badass, guys. Badass. Alright, I'm just going to go ahead and say this thing is packaged very well. They wanted to make sure that it didn't get messed up on its way here from where'd it come from? Shanghai. Shanghai. This is a Chinese turbo, guys, but it's a well-proven Chinese turbo. A lot of people running this particular turbo now. We have the unit itself. I think that's the only thing in the box. I just want to make sure I don't miss anything, just in case there's any paperwork or anything we want to go through here. And I don't see anything else. Actually, a pretty nice box though. It's got freaking handles and everything. Nice. I'll just set that aside. Now you can see my mess. Way nicer than our old T66 and is about twice the size. But one thing I'm really happy about is this right here. If you go to the VS Racing site, I'm not sure, I know Hunter has not like put any photos up of these turbos yet on the Hunter Tuned website, but if you go to the VS Racing website, when you look at these, it shows this outlet here as not being tapped. It just shows a blank there. And I honestly thought when I ordered this that I was gonna have to drill and tap this, which isn't a big deal, but I'm glad I don't. Because this is usually where I run my boost reference, is right here, because my wastegate on my setup is mounted like right here next to the turbo. So it's real convenient for me to just run a line from here straight over to the wastegate. Okay, the finish on the compressor housing is actually better than I expected. I thought it would be a lot more rough than this, but it's actually like semi-polished. I mean, it's not like a high polish, but like my old turbo, if you guys have been subscribed to the site for any length of time, you know I painted my old compressor housing black because I didn't like the rough finish, but I might actually leave this because I'm liking this. Something I've seen a lot of people complain about on these is the oil feed. Like on mine, I run a 1/8 oil feed that's just tapped in. I generally don't use the flange for my oil feed, and I'm not sure, but this looks like it could be a 1/8. Let's find out. So like I said, I was watching a video the other day where someone had used an On3 7875, which is supposedly basically the same thing as this, and they were complaining that the oil feed was not threaded for a standard 1/8 NPT pipe thread. Well, this one is. I just got out my 1/8 NPT tap, which is what I thought I was going to have to use to tap this up here, and yeah, it goes right in there, guys. I mean, so no issues there. I'm not going to have to use a feed flange. I can just take my elbowed fitting out of my old turbo, screw it right into this one, and good to go. Okay, now as I said, I'm no turbo guru, but we're going to take a look at this and see what we got here. Got our 3-inch V-band outlet here. You see the shave down spot down here under the nut? That is where they balance this turbo. You can see where it's ground away down here. See, it's just a perfect circle everywhere else. Yeah, so we know they've balanced it. That's always a good sign. Now this is a journal bearing turbo, guys, so you know, a ball bearing turbo, you can take a dry ball bearing turbo and spin it and it'll spin for a while. On these journal bearing turbos, until you get some oil in there, you know, you're going to feel a little bit of resistance. Main thing is that it doesn't have any shaft play. Yeah, and there is like almost zero shaft play here. Like I can barely, like I can see it move a tiny bit, but I can't actually feel it move, which on a journal bearing turbo, again, that's normal because there's just a tiny bit of play there. Once the oil's circulating through it, you know, it fills up that area in between the bearing and the shaft, so there's going to be a tiny bit of play there, but it shouldn't be enough that you can really feel it. Go ahead and take all our covers off here. I'm just checking this out, guys. I'm going to be honest, I'm kind of excited because this is my first brand new turbo. As I've already stated, the turbo we originally used on the build was like 12 years old. Nice machine surface there. It's 96 AR exhaust housing there. This is a 2.5-inch outlet, which I'm going to have to modify because my old turbo was just a 2-inch, and we actually had to make a special adapter for mine, so we may have to get John to fab us up something else for this one. Now you can see right here, hopefully you can see that, where they've cut off this to balance too, and again, almost zero shaft play. Now I did not spring for the billet 7875, which is also available. It's about, I think, about $150 more than the cast 7875 that I have here. We are on a budget here at Bad Luck Garage, so could not afford that. All right, guys, that's really all I have to say about it. I mean, it looks like a really nice unit from what I can tell. It actually came with more stuff than I was expecting. It looks better than I was expecting. I mean, you know, this is a China turbo. I knew that ordering it. I didn't expect the finish and everything to be this good. I really didn't. I mean, if you look at the stock photos on the VS Racing site, this looks a lot different than what's on those photos. So I'm really happy, guys. Now, the last thing I want to do is I want to, you know, just for shits and giggles, we're going to take our little T66 and put it up here and, you know, compare what we had to what we have now. So we got our old T66 and our new 78 millimeter, well, 78-75, we'll just call it what everybody calls it. But we got them both on the bench here. I went ahead and clocked them both pretty much the same way, just so we could kind of do a little comparison. Just wanted to show you guys the difference in size. So right off the bat, you can see on the exhaust side here, our turbine is way bigger on this 78-75. I was actually going to take this apart and measure both of these with the digital caliper over here, but I don't really think that's necessary. You guys probably don't really care about how tiny this little T66 is, but the point is, you know, a little bitty, big mamba jamba. And if we flip them over, look at the compressor housing inside, you can see it's pretty obvious. I mean, this 78 mil, it's literally double the size of the little T66 we were running, which we knew was too small. But I mean, look at this, guys. Look how huge this is compared to this little guy here. This ought to give us a whole lot more flow than we were getting out of this little guy, and hopefully, you know, we'll make a little more power. I mean, honestly, I'm not looking to make much more power than I was when this one was running, you know, correctly. But hey, man, you know, if we do want to make a little more power, we're going to be able to do it now. So you can see here our inlet on the 78 millimeter. I mean, this is a 4-inch inlet. This was a 3-inch inlet, and our outlet here was 2 inches on this one, and it is 2.5 on this one. So we are going to have to make a new adapter for our intercooler piping for this one. Last thing I want to do is, for those of you who are not following our Facebook page, I had actually posted a video on here, but yeah, there's quite a bit of bearing play, bearing slop, whatever you want to call it, in our 66 here. I don't know if, you know, maybe that's why it was whining so bad on the way home, but I'd posted a little video on our Facebook page showing that. But for those of you who don't follow there, or for those of you who are new to the channel, what happened was we had this little T66 on a 6-liter LS engine. Obviously, it was way too small. We ran it because we had it. It kind of shit the bed on us. So we have upgraded to this guy here. So anyway, that's our unboxing for the new 78 millimeter here. So I'm going to get started transferring some parts over that we need, and we're going to see about fitting this guy back in our Turbo C10. So if you're new to the channel, go ahead and subscribe if you want to see more. For those of you who've been around a while, thank you very much. I love you guys, and I'm going to get back to work, so I'll see you next time here on Bad Luck Garage.